James Madison, the fourth President of the United States. So, here's some basic presidential info about James Madison. His administration was from 1817 to 1825, so 2 terms. He was a Democratic Republican, a leader of the party alongside Thomas Jefferson. He was the father of the Constitution, as he pretty much wrote it, and he emphasized the small government ideologies in the Constitution. He supervised the Louisiana Purchase as Secretary of State under Thomas Jefferson, where they purchased the French territory, which more than doubled the size of the United States. And like Jefferson, to an extent, he changed from the small government mindset to a more big government and federalist ideology as his presidency progressed, as he realized that the National Bank provided for a lot of funding in economic security during a full-fledged war. So here's the domestic affairs under James Madison. So the general domestic policy. He tried to implement the general Democratic Republic philosophy of getting rid of the National Bank, as he vetoed it in 1814. But then he signed the second charter to keep the bank during the war, as he realized how vital it was to the war effort. That similarly, he approved the American system from Henry Clay for the National Bank, the tax system, and the pension system. These are all big government, loose interpretation of the Constitution actions. But Madison realized that these types of philosophies and these types of initiatives were necessary for the American economy to succeed after the War of 1812. And unlike other U.S. presidents, he ordered the U.S. Army to protect native lands from the settlers, which made Andrew Jackson mad, as you know from Andrew Jackson, the Indian Removal Act, and his strict policy against the Native Americans. He was very upset that the president was restricting American movement and American settlement in the West. So, foreign affairs. So the War of 1812 is basically James Madison's only foreign affair that's pretty much significant, but it is very significant in American history. So due to British alliances with the Indians who were attacking settlements, as the British gave Indians firearms to annoy and shoot American settlers in Detroit, and the Warhawks, led by Henry Clay and John Calhoun, who were trying to invade Canada, alongside the impressment of American seamen by both French and British navies. The American people were getting frustrated by being pushed around by these larger European countries, and war was soon declared against Britain with Congress's approval and James Madison's declaration of war. So the Americans had many victories in the War of 1812, as Andrew Jackson, New Orleans, even though the war is pretty much over when the Battle of New Orleans was fought, as the Treaty of Ghent was signed in Europe, but it took a lot of time for news to travel alongside the Atlantic Ocean, so the news only came to America after the Battle of New Orleans was fought. The Battle of Thames, where William Henry Harrison defeated Tecumseh, and he destroyed the British troops, and Lake Erie, where the Americans finally got rid of the British influence along to the Detroit area, and put an end to their bothering and annoyance in the Midwestern region. There was a major loss at Bladensburg, which then caused the White House to be burned. There's a funny story about that. Dolly Madison, James Madison's wife, actually made a dinner for a grand White House dinner for all the staff to eat, for about 40 people. But then after the Battle of Bladensburg, Dolly Madison left the White House with the food still prepared. So the British troops ate the food and then they burned the White House. So pretty funny. And finally, he signed the Treaty at Ghent, which ended the war. There was really no significant changes or significant advancements for the Americans after the Treaty of Ghent, but after the war and after the Battle of New Orleans, it improved American patriotism and culture. The Star-Spangled Banner was composed. There was more jingoism in American society, and the Americans felt more as if they were developing a culture rather than just still one of British's colonies. So thank you for listening, and stay tuned for President number 5.